Is this your game? Huh? Is this your game?
Garvey's father was a mason, a professional mason. And among the things that he did was to create tombs for people in the St. Anne's Bay graveyard. He took Garvey with him to the graveyard one day, and they were digging this grave, and his father had Garvey go down inside the grave, but then he pulled the ladder up and left the child in the bottom of the grave. Garvey said that he cried out and his father wouldn't let him get back up out of the grave. He wanted to teach him a lesson.
Alone in the grave, young Marcus Garvey learned that he could rely on no one but himself. It was a lesson he would carry for the rest of his life.
This is for all you goofy Pan-Africans that be under my post. This is the origin of the name Africa. Check it out.
The word Africa province. And what's going to happen is you might get some resources of some sort that give you the history of the use of the term Africa. And what you're going to find out is that it was white folk who created the first African province. All right, in 146 BC. And they did this after they conquered some of your ancestors, who we call Carthaginians, under the Carthaginian Empire. It's not Carthage, is not the name, the true name. They were the people of Punt, or Topton Wet, or the Puny people, or so-called, where we get the Greek use of Puny or Phoenicia. These were Moors. These were Aboriginals. But in 146 BC, the Romans conquered a small province and named it African Proconsularis. And after naming Africa Proconsularis, these white Romans colonized that particular area and became the first Africans. Now that might sound crazy to you, but it's historically a fact that the first Africans were white, and white folks, white Romans made up that particular name. The Aboriginal and indigenous peoples of that particular landmass never called themselves Africans. So to call yourself African today is a term that denotes that you are colonized and do not know your history. Now, you might not be able to stomach that, but it is a fact. Alright, so we need to check this information out for ourselves. And we will find that the first coins were African coins with white faces on them. You'll find emperors like Emperor Hadrian and others who were white Romans who were considered Africans. Now we have 54, 55 countries on that particular continent, all with pretty much so-called phenotypically black leaders. And they are all controlled by white people, financially, etc. A lot of us over here, we cry about, well, we need land. You can't be sovereign without land. You can't go to Africa and say our people don't got no land. They got more land than you can think of. But it goes to show you can have all the land that you want. If you don't have your mind, you are still a slave. And we have 55 nations walking around calling themselves after a colonized term given to them by ancient Romans till this day. That is suicide, genocide, and menticide. Alright, so we have to check that. If we are going to be a free people, how are we going to be free if we name ourselves after our enemies?